You're such an asshole.
You know what, guys? I don't know if I'm going to get out of my pajamas. I think I got to shower, obviously, and change my underwear. I mean, it's 1 o'clock almost. I should probably do some basic hygiene, but I may just have a day where I bang out all the videos and I play video games and I eat my food. Oh, wouldn't that be joyful and wonderful? I could be like a 20 something Cappy again. There are these days. I'll get to this story. Don't worry. I'll tell you about the lecture later. There'd be times I'd work security like late at night, just be exhausted and tired. And just some of the happier days of my life, living in my crappy duplex in Minneapolis, not too far away where the riots happened. The Hexagon bar I went to, it got burnt. Oh, good times. Those are good times. Walk to the bar, get hammered, walk back. Anyway, so I'd buy a bottle of wine, a big one. And you're darn right. What was it? I forget the names, but you could get them for like $4. Just this huge bottle of wine. Play Medal of Honor. And a female friend I had would stop by after she'd go nightclub and want to sober up a bit and a little fun. Good. What happened? What happened to that? Oh, those are good times. Living in I got laid in that basement more than any time in my life. I think. Yeah, I think so. Anyway, so let us talk about the past. We're going to talk about the past. A criticism I receive, which is fair because it's true, is that I liked it when you talked economics. And because in the olden, you go back to my blog, it's all economics and all that. And all you do is talk about girls. And what I ask the listener or the viewer to understand is that I am responding to the market. And I kind of really didn't have a choice because as a couple things led to that. First, no one listened to me about economics. My first book is predicting the housing bubble before it freaking happened. Because I couldn't write that as it was happening. I wrote it months before it happened, and it happened. I published it, but no one cared. Another thing, in terms of economics, the banks I worked for didn't care. When I predicted the dot-com bubble, which wasn't exactly a huge prediction, no one cared. And when I try to do finance and improve people's finance, no one cared. An education bubble, don't major in stupid crap. Nobody cares. So it's not that I'm looking for efficacy, but all my labor and work in my entire career up until that point in time, aside from being compensated, which I was, had no effect on the world. It really didn't make a difference because people were going to believe what they were going to believe. And I'm not ruining that or anything, but it's kind of like, okay, it was pretty, aside from generating an income, there was no efficacy. There was no mark on the world I left. I did not tangibly improve anyone because they themselves refused to be improved. So I'm okay with that. But as time went on and I got older and had lots of experience, good and bad, with the girls and the finance classes and the finance books, and people would send me emails specific to their, it was only natural that one of the main, if not the main, financial question men had would be about women, because there's no single bigger investment of a man's time, money, and resources. Hang on. Okay, I thought I heard something. There's no single bigger expenditure of their resources, be it time, money, mental energies, psychology, emotions, than women. And that I happened to be at the right place at the right time during the right internet revolution where does Cappy sit in the red pill world? Well, he's our resident financial guru, but he also is the economist where he analyzes the ROI, the efficiency, the efficacy on the pursuit of women, which is why I wrote that one book, but I also gave advice on it. And since the pursuit of women and family are the single largest interest and therefore economic expenditure of men, I am still talking about economics. And not only about economics, but probably the single most important aspect of economics. And then when you consider that, I'm sorry, girls, you can prove me wrong by showing me statistics that are different than the ones I've seen and the veracity. But when you consider that it is men's pursuit of women that has created nearly everything you have right now in terms of real GDP, modern production today, though women are certainly entering real productive fields more than they were in times past. And I'm sure there's one or two inventions created by women, but nearly all technological advances and innovations and creations and inventions. You take women away from men, you are removing the fuel from the engine of economic growth and human advancement and innovation, technological innovation, and you will stall. You will stop progress within society. Unless women are going to pick up the slack where men are falling behind or no longer incentivized anymore. That is yet to be determined, but I'm going to guess not. But frankly, because women only have a fractional interest in men. So they don't have the economic incentive to impress men and therefore be as creative and productive as men have been. So we are very much, I would defend myself, I am very much where I have to be. And I'm very happy because there's deep down inside, I've always wanted to be an economist. There ain't no economist like me, not in this world. I mean, it is, Thomas Sowell, great man. I'm sure all the smart people at the Federal Reserve are trying to tinker with interest rates. Oh, exciting. I hope, not for arrogant reasons, but like, hey, this really mattered. I'm really where the rest of the economists should be. I'm really here. This is what we got to worry about. Oh, you're worried about production? It's not a joke. Not a joke. Make women thin again and make them nice again. And your economic problems won't all go away, but they'll be lessened, some of them even solved. But that's highly politically incorrect and not popular. Regardless, the point is, I never really abandoned economics. And I'm directly affecting economics way more than I was before, trying to prevent housing bubbles and education bubbles and .com bubbles. Now, because it seems all I do is talk about the girls up, because that's what you guys pay me to do. I've had some friends from quite some time ago, people I've known many, many years, and they're like, boy, all you do is talking about the girls and and I'm imagining I got to kind of look like a Spurg a little bit or some incel where all you do is talk about the girls. And I'm just responding to the market. And then but how do you do it, kid? I don't know, Cappy. How do you, man? Look, you get this. Like, yeah, I'm responding to the market. But I had a really good friend of mine who I respect because we were in the trenches together, man, in our 20s. Both of us had rental property. Both of us lived in crappy parts of Minneapolis. Not the worst, but they weren't that great. And now we're so happy we got out. And he said something that was really interesting to me. He says, I watch your videos, which I'm kind of surprised my friends do. He says, every once in a while, I think you're going hard on women, a little bit too hard. And he says, and then I remember what it was like. I'm like, yeah, because him and I dated some of the same gals. I'm like, I remember that one. And this guy went through, I won't give the details, but he went through hell. And we both went through hell. Again, there were good times, but there were also very bad times. And the thing about memory that I've found, I learned this very early. I remember this at the end of my freshman year. And I remember saying to myself, you will never remember how hard this was. Because it was so bad and so deprived of sleep and no food. And I remember saying, you're not going to remember how bad this was because it's impossible to remember it. I also I distinctly remember what had happened 2 weeks ago, or not 2 weeks ago, 2 months ago during college seemed further ago. How did it work? Yeah, it seemed further ago in my memory than times that were years ago when I graduated from high school. Like it seemed ages ago that I did this patrol or I did this thing or I was out dispatched whatever place in a cold Christmas night. But middle school even seemed more fresh in my memory, which was 4 or 5 years ago at that time, than things that had happened just the 2 months before. And I'm no neurologist, and maybe someone who has a background in neurology could tell me this, but I believe that, well, one, nutritional deficits probably affect your memory or the freshness of it. But I believe as a survival mechanism, if you took all the things bad that happened in your life, you'd kill yourself. You would. Your brain wouldn't be able to handle it. It's too depressing. And I think the brain forgets bad things just so it can move on and takes a kind of biophysiological neuroplasticity bias to purging bad memories and focusing on the good ones so that you have an incentive to live. I don't know if that's true. I would love to hear from someone who has a background in neurobiology, neurochemistry, neurology that could tell me if that's true or not. But at least it seemed the case to me. Because not after my friend pointed it out, but for ever since, oh God, in past 20 years, I would be sitting there, and I'd have, I guess, a flashback, not an actual legit Vietnam War, getting shot at, seeing my buddies blow up. I do not mean to lessen the experience of people who suffer real PTSD, but I would have a flashback, a memory, like, oh crap, it would just jump in. Whoa, I forgot about that. And what it would be of just completely, in hindsight now, unacceptable behavior, unacceptable treatment by women, evil treatment by women. There's no other way to describe it, ladies. It was wrong. God, hundreds of times being stood up. Yes, I will show up at this time. That was because of the frequency and the volume and the outright lying and betrayal of that. And the token amount of maybe emotional investment I might have had in that. The number of times I was lied to, those blur together. But there'd be the occasion. I remember one time, oh God, Christmas, I remember probably the worst one. This girl promised to pick me up at the dorms because I didn't have a car at the time and take me to her family's place for Christmas dinner. And then I had to be brought back to do night patrol. So I was looking I even packed up my bag with my uniform. I was ready to go. And she never picked me up. Just there I was in the dorm waiting for her to be, Christmas Day. That kind of sucked. The hundreds of getting stood up, that is probably the plurality reason why I just don't believe women until you actually show up and do something. Sorry, shock. Imagine that. But then there'd be other things like the two girls throwing temper tantrums on the highway. One girl's like, oh, well, he's my friend, and Tuesday's our night, that kind of thing. Some dumb 22, 23-year-old kid. And even things that I don't remember, they just jump in. I'm like, all right, that's right. I remember that. God, how, and another buddy and I were talking, and it spurred another memory. And the ones that I remembered, I have forgotten once again. And I remember even 10 years ago saying, man, I have forgotten a lot that these girls were really bad. Now, Cappy wasn't a great guy either. All right. I did some bad things. Of course, it wasn't necessarily unprovoked. I'm not getting laid. Watch how loyal I'm going to be. Look how invested in this relationship I will be. God, I remember. Here's another one. The girl that would hump my leg. She flirted out like, okay, this is going to go somewhere. And all she did was, didn't know. She got off on my leg. She was satisfied, just rolled over, fell asleep. I'm like, hello? Huh? Oh, by the way, she was on drugs, mentally ill. But the mentally ill, not the fun drugs, the mentally ill ones. And I tried to look her up, but she was miserable. She was absolutely miserable. But yeah, these things would just pop in. And there's always well, you don't want to sound like a complainer. I'm not complaining. I'm describing exactly what happened. Piss poor treatment, evil treatment by evil women, unacceptable behavior, lying. What else? Lying is the key thing. Misappropriating fun. What's the word I'm looking for? They would have you misallocate time, money, and resources towards a date. I'm going to show up at this time. They're not there. I could have worked another shift. That is unacceptable behavior. Oh, and then the crazy, which neither good nor evil, just crazy. Ask my buddy. And he sat back and he's like, yeah, and then I remember. And that's the point I wanted to make here is, guys, never forget. I'm not saying to remember the bad times so you could stew in anger and hatred and rage, but that happened. That was real. And I would argue it's reflective of what the culture was at the time, what women were at that time. And you really ought to write this down. Peggy Sue stood me up this night. Amy Jo led me on, humping my leg. Susie Q wouldn't have sex again. Jessica Jones screamed at me on the interstate when I didn't buy her a soda. So cheated. How many of those? Oh God, went back with the ex. You're in that gray zone, and then they're like, oh, where'd you go? Where you been the past 3 weeks? Oh, just trying to find myself. Yeah, and your ex-boyfriend's dick. You sure found it, I bet. Write this down, man. And to be fair, write down when you screwed the girls over. And I guarantee you the list of girls transgressing you is going to be multiple times as long as you transgressing a girl. If for any other reason, again, men have more interest in women and you're more likely to honor your word. Girls are not. But that doesn't change the fact, oh, you want to be treated equally? You know what we don't do in human adult world? Lie to each other. And you're going to have a list this long. Now, is that going to cause post-traumatic stress? Probably not. Likely not. You'd have to have like a bipolar crazy girl. I mean, like a no joke Chad Elkins type of thing where you start to suffer genuine mental consequences. Not like seeing your buddy blow up in a tank. But you get the idea. And it's not that, I suffer from PTSD or anything like that. That's not what you're going to do. But what I want you to do is hold on to that so that when you're older and your brain has purged this long ago just so you can continue to function in normal society, you're reminded of what the true nature of girls are. At least how they treated you. Right now, I'm sure if you're 10 or something, it might be a little bit different. But, you're picking on no. I'm telling men to record this and remember this so that when the time comes and your brain is purged and you have an overlay idealistic about what the real dynamics, the real situation is between the relations of men and women, you pull up that and say, okay, I screwed up here, but holy cow. And I screwed up that one, because that is the reality. And if you remember that, you will not lure yourself into, once again, a false sense of security or optimism, but will instead be like, okay, they are like this. I am reminded. This is what happened. It wasn't a joke. It happened. If you need to put a date next to it, go ahead. I wouldn't recommend keeping a journal. Just kind of mark, a spreadsheet will suffice. And then you'll be like, oh, that's right. And for people, look, when girls stop flaking and just be nice or honest, the opinion will change. But this is not, woe is me, I hate the Womans. This happened. I would love to go into the details what happened to my buddy, because it was no joke. That was no joke either. And it isn't a joke that this happens to, I don't know, I gotta imagine it happens to every guy. Roll had a BPD girl. I have my BPD girl. Elkins had his BPD girl. I don't know, did Atham have his BPD girl? Do me a favor. We'll do a really quick, informal, unscientific survey. 1, if you had the BPD girl or psycho crazy girl, and 0 if you've never had that. I'm kind of curious how common that phenomenon is. But this is real. Half of you end in divorce. That must cause a little bit of traumatic stress, or at least some stress. And no, I am out of fear of looking like I'm complaining about the Womans. I am not denying my past. I am not going to ignore what happened in the past. It's not like any one woman, oh, who hurt you? It's not one woman. It's death by a million mosquito bites. That's what it is. And that is reflective. And, maybe there's a group of guys out there where like, oh, I've had nothing but pleasant experiences. It's been wonderful. But I'm going to bet that's not the case. And so when it comes, because a lot of you guys are interested, the number one thing is women, please understand the reality of female nature. Right? And don't get angry at them either. This is where we have to have a conversation. Look, they're going to flake on you because they have other options. Don't get emotionally invested about it. If someone had come and taught us that, we would spare the PTSD. We would spare the bad times. You'd just be like, yeah, that's what they do. Right? There would have been no confusion. I think we're moving towards that with the internet world. It's like, yeah, it's just how they are. They found a better option. Move on, bro. But let us not forget that is what happened, and that is the nature. And women, ladies, if you want to put forth a better effort, like, we'll never stand up a guy again. We're just going to policies. We're telling men the truth. We're going to say, no, I'm not that interested in you. Oh, yeah, I open relationship. I want to get other dick. I want to date this other guy. Okay, here's the thing. I'm not really ever going to have sex with you because I don't like sex, or it goes against my religion, or I don't really find you that attractive, but I like your beta man qualities. You're going to have to be cool, honest, and we'd have a much better relationship between the sexes because it'd be based on honesty. But for you guys, especially if you're a little bit older, like you've gone through this, never forget, because that is the reality you're going to be dealing with. So don't let that, your brain's default optimism, which I speculate we all have as a survival mechanism, don't let that fool you again into an optimism that should not be there and is not warranted. That was pretty dark. All right. Link below is the book of numbers analyzing the ROI on the pursuit of women, so you could see the actual statistics and data in case you happen to forget how you were treated in the past. Do we got any super chats? Okay, here's the one. 111011010101. So 10. So it looks like a 0, but I don't have it looks like a 60%. Very unofficial here, but looks like the majority. 60% of you had the bipolar girl experience. All right. So this is real. This is common. This is to be expected. Hopefully you dodge it, but this is not an irrational expectation to expect that a man has gone through something like that. God, I went through it with a couple gals. The one was the one where I was like, I had no idea what was going on. Like, I thought there's something wrong with me. And then in the field, I was like, nope, get out of here. Gone. Bye. Nope. All right, that's it. I was once with a woman on lithium. Stupid 22-year-old idiot. Yep. Oh, let's get that there. Yep. Just get it out there, guys. No lithium. Heck, go watch the video I did. $250. This guy's like, should I date my bipolar girlfriend? All right. See you guys later. Toodles.